Hello, let's do some coloring today. On the previous video, I showed you how to draw the alphabet. These are my two options for coloring, crayons and color pencils. I think I'm going to be using color pencil because I can get into the tiny little sharp corners of every letter. If you haven't drawn the alphabet yet, you can watch the previous video. I also have markers to color, but I think I'm only going to be using the markers to trace and then the color pencil to fill in the gaps, just to color inside of it and fill it in. I like to trace with color. It could be a crayon, a color pencil, or a marker, but I like to trace the shape of what I'm going to color first. That way, I know that I have to fill in the shape with that color, and I have a plan. Sometimes we are coloring and we're not paying enough attention. We just get lost and we end up coloring other things that we had not planned to color originally. But because we stopped paying attention, we just ended up making a mistake. So this really helps me. It helps me stay inside of the lines and it helps me stay within the plan. If I ended up with one section that's darker than the than the rest of the letter, I'm going to make sure that I go back and color everything in the same tone. Everything will be like just as dark or just as light. You might see the difference right now on the letter B because I put my hand on it. It has now smeared the pencil. This is another reason why I like to trace everything, because the marker, the crayon, or the color pencil will seal in the pencil line. That way it will stop it from moving anymore. I can put my finger on it or my hand on it by mistake, and it will not smear as much anymore. So color pencil, again, color pencils or crayons can seal in the pencil lines that you had. When you put it on top, it's going to seal it in and prevent it from smearing like it did on the letter B. For this whole video, I'm going to really focus on coloring evenly, not sideways, not diagonally. If I started coloring up and down, I'm going to try and continue going up and down as evenly as possible, and that's going to be that's going to be most of my plan for today. I ended up choosing 6 colors, and I created a pattern that is repeating, which now is telling me what color is next, what color should go on the following letter. And you can even arrange them by order on what should be the next color to use. Well, here's another reason that I like to trace with a darker color. That every time I'm tracing, I am using it as an opportunity, and you can see it on the letter X. This is an opportunity for me to fix my wobbly pencil lines that I had underneath the letter. So right there, this is my opportunity to make it into a more straight and better looking letter without having to erase. Of course, after tracing, I could always just go back with my eraser and erase the pencil lines that I don't need to look at anymore. That's another thing that you could do at the end. Sometimes you will also end up changing your mind, just like I did in this video. For example, at first I thought that I wanted to trace with a yellow marker, and then I ended up just tracing on top of that with a black marker. And then I just go in there just fill in the shape with a yellow crayon. That way I can color in just faster. Towards the end of the video, I had mentioned that I wanted to use a color pencil, so that I could get into all the nooks and crannies, all those tiny little spots inside of the letter. But it does take you longer to color. With a crayon, because the tip is just wider, you can cover more area than with a pencil. And here's another problem when you're using color pencil, that your hand will get tired far quicker, just quicker, way quicker than with a crayon. And you will just have to be very patient, stretch your hand, maybe take small breaks, or not hold on to the pencil less tightly. Just release some of that pressure. Another thing that I like to do is switch my hand position. This is how this way that I'm holding the pencil is really good for when I'm writing. But for coloring or for drawing, you can just switch it up and hold it instead like this, sideways. And instead of putting your hand down on the paper, move your whole arm as you are coloring. This will require that you are more advanced, of course, at your grip of pencil, that you have more control. So if you are more advanced and you're not, I guess, clumsy, if you have more fine motor skills, you can do this without a problem. At the beginning, it might be a little bit awkward, but it's going to help so much, and you will not have as much tension on your hand, because the tension will go, and all the force, instead of it being just concentrated on your hand, it will instead be shared by the hand, the wrist, and the arm. Well, here is another mistake that I made. I wasn't thinking straight, or maybe I wasn't planning enough, but I ended up with the blue color below another blue color, and it should have been, I think it should have been blue instead. No, instead of, I think it should have been green, yes. So I know that color pencil is really hard to erase, but I'm going to try and do my best. The good news, the plus side, the positive side, is that green and blue are kind of similar, so I can just go ahead and color on top of it. But again, sometimes you will make a lot of plans and you will still make mistakes. That will happen. So just remember that and be very much okay with making mistakes and moving on. Some mistakes you can fix and some you just won't be able to. And that will be okay. That can happen in art all the time. I'm going to show you how to color the back of the letter, the square itself. I'm going to be using something that is called a gradient or a fading. I'm sure there are many other names for it, kind of like an ombre, where you are going from your darkest to your lightest. And I'm going to apply an even coat or an even layer of color pencil, but it's very light. And on the left, I'm going to add my darkest tones, my darkest hues, and just leave it very light towards the right side of the square. On the left, I'm just really trying to blend it all in. It's going to start fading into lightness towards the middle of that square. Every single square is going to be doing exactly the same thing. I'm going to be checking my work so that I'm blending everything in. And you will see towards the end of the video that it's going to make a really nice effect. It will be very pleasing to look at. I start tracing the next square. You'll also notice that I'm using a ruler by now. This ruler is going to help me color up and down vertically without necessarily coloring onto the next square. This helps me not go over the lines. And then I slow down when I'm getting close to the letter itself. And again, I color another even layer that's very light. And I'm going to try my best. I'm going to use the flattest part of the color pencil, not the tip of it, not the sharpest tip of the color pencil, the flattest and widest part. And that helps me color more evenly and to blend in from darkest to lightest. I do have to say that your first attempts at shading and highlighting in a drawing are not going to be your best ever. They're going to be your first ones. So this is very much like that, like learning how to shade, in that maybe you won't know how to blend it in. It's not going to look as good because again, if this is the first time that you're doing it, you won't know exactly what you're doing, and that's okay. The point is that you have to try it and that you will learn to do it better. It's sort of a skill that you learn with practice, a lot of practice and a lot of, I guess, self-criticism, where you look at it and you say, what can I do to make it better the next time I do it? And maybe I just let go of it for today and then try again in a month or a year later. Just don't worry about it so much, but you do have to try. However, doing this throughout your whole paper will definitely give you a lot of experience in doing that, in working from your darkest to lightest. Every square is an opportunity to get better at it, so do take that opportunity. Do practice your shading, to practice your blending in with color pencils or with pencil, or because maybe another time you could try it with crayons or with any other media that you would like to choose. In conclusion, yes, my advice to you would be to actually try to do this for every single one of the squares so that you're way better at this than if you had not done it at all. Go from darkest to lightest with every single square, and you will end up being better at it than you ever were yesterday or the week before. Think of it as when you are playing a video game where you get killed or you lose the level and you have to just start over and try that level again so that you can pass it. Same thing for this type of exercise. You just have to do it. And in that video game, every time you're playing that level, you're trying to pass it, you're gonna get so much better at it. Same thing for this. You just have to keep trying. The more you keep trying, the better you get at it. Thank you for watching this video. I hope that you learned or you picked up some tips and tricks on how to color using color pencils. And I will see you on the next video. Take care. Goodbye.